loved it.
I thought it was really fresh. I thought it was original.
I didn't expect like for it to be that funny actually.
I like that.
She was laughing.
I was awake the whole time.
I actually thought it dragged on a little bit towards the end though.
I liked it a lot better than a lot of the rock musicals I've seen on Broadway, like American Idiot and what was the other one? I liked Hair.
It was the best one that I saw. It was so good.
I think it's a question of who's it for. And so the Native community is not the audience that it's intended for at all.
You know, growing up, being mixed, half Native, half white, you know, I was always told, oh, well, you don't look Native and things like that, and that's very damaging. It's damaging to communities, it's damaging to individuals, and when I saw Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, I felt like that I was going through that all over again.
I'm a mixed race person, and I really connected with a lot of the stuff that was said about representation and racism in the arts, but in communities and growing up in a community where you have to deal with that stuff. And I really liked even the talk back, what they said about having to swallow that and then feeling like you're done swallowing that. So I enjoyed that.
Maybe now I have an idea about why people were so angry, even if they don't understand why. I think it might be because they're not invited to participate at all.
I teach U.S. history in high schools, and what I teach about Andrew Jackson is basically all about Native American history, and we read his State of the Union address and look at the language and look at like just the hatred that's so clear. So that's like what I was expecting this mainstream piece to be about, and I thought, oh wow, how exciting that there's going to be on a mainstream stage people talking about what an American president did that was so horrible. And so then I heard from a friend who did see it that it wasn't that at all. And I was really disappointed, especially disappointed to hear that that was going on at the Public Theater, of all places.
That makes me want to actually see what the history books have to say. I never paid attention to history class. I was a math major. I didn't really care about history.
I didn't know the history. I'm not from the U.S.
I like to see what the options on the table for prior to the Trail of Tears was. Whether, you know, was that the best of the worst options, or sort of what was on the table. Obviously there are a lot of parallels to what's going on now. So is it the best worst option, or is it the worst?
Yeah, I guess I would go back and question Andrew Jackson. And you know, my son was actually asking me about Andrew Jackson apropos of this, so it would definitely get me to think about.
I found Andrew Jackson just predictable and boring, and just too sexy and too sympathetic. And I know that that was supposed to be true, but actually, in a way, that for me was more problematic than the way in which natives were represented. That was the hardest part for me to swallow, and I understood that that was artistically really smart and was supposed to make me think like outside of my own perspective about the history and just sort of deal with him sort of in celebrity culture or as a guy with a fantasy to be big.
Now, whether that was the aim of the show or not, I can't say. You know, I wasn't the writer. I had nothing to do with the creative process, but I can tell you that that's how I felt. And so this piece was a response to that.
So yes, I came to this because I heard that it was a response, and I was excited to see people kind of like battling it out on stage.
Yeah.
I think that's exciting.
I liked that it seemed for the people who are a part of the community, they really felt like it dealt with that in a really good, positive way.
And it was, in my mind, more than a reaction to Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, which was sort of the catalyst, I guess, but talking about Native theater in a broader context.
I felt really glad to be hearing and seeing art being used so poignantly.
Oh shit. You know, art heals, and I think there was something healing about that for the people who felt so put off by what happened with Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson.
As a first step towards a response to something that the community has really been struggling with. And that for me was a huge feeling of satisfaction that people said they were going to do something and they did.
I wanted to do something like this, but I just didn't have the inspiration, I guess, enough to do it, or the motivation.
I was a little I don't know about the comparison technique of like comparing oppressions. I think that it's a strategy that can be really useful, but also kind of can lead people into a direction that maybe is more divisive than unifying. But there is, I mean, obviously, tapping into something that people know about and you know, the artists are right that minstrelsy is generally not acceptable anymore, thank God. And so pointing out that those Old West things and everything and all of that is very much the same vein as important.
You used the power and like the meaning of the laugh.
To kind of turn the tables on, you know, a lot of the sort of so-called Indian jokes.
And just, they really took that gesture and they repeated it.
I never like laughed so hard like, in a while. Like
during the show, like why were they laughing? And part of the what made it clear, you know, that this was not, the show was not challenging genocide or challenging what causes genocide, but actually just like desensitizing audiences was the way in which people laughed.
It's so much pleasure because it's so funny.
That was like a signifier of what was happening, really, and they took that gesture and they just reframed it in a way that made you think about what does it mean to be an audience member.
Then I began to have this thought, which is, who is this show for?
It also made me think about who is going to be seeing this piece. In this audience are a lot of people who are in theater, or a lot of people who are already critical of Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson.
Can I ask how you think this show would work if it was brought to the context, to the audience of the people who are seeing Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson and are enjoying it?
Much of it was effective in communicating what we had talked about, like the issues, with the idea that it's a work in progress, that there's still more work to be done to make it even more effective and to reach even a broader audience if that's the way.
They have to start from the oppressed community first, and so I really don't think that this piece is necessarily for the people who aren't those oppressed communities.
Maybe now I have an idea about why people were so angry, even if they don't understand why. I think it might be because they're not invited to participate at all.
And I think it's interesting what you guys are doing to create a dialogue between, to contrive a dialogue between those audiences of Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson and this audience here, this response to that particular piece. Inform people about what you're doing so that they can use this tool that you guys are like creating that's really important so that they can further the work that they're doing. You have a camera and that's a powerful tool.